Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to FLW TV's midweek preview. My name is Toby Wilding, and joining me today to look ahead to all the Championship and League One action over the next couple of months, I have three of my fellow Football League World journalists. We've got Ben Wignall, Billy Mulley, and Chris Gallagher. Gents, thanks for joining me. Hope you're all doing well. Now, of course, to anyone watching at home who would like to get involved, please do so as well by leaving your comments in the comment section, of course. And do please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you can. In the meantime, let's get started with a look at some of the Championship action to come tonight. Now, we're going to start by turning our attention to Kenilworth Road, where Luton will be hosting Middlesbrough. These two sides both slipped out of the top six at the weekend after 2-0 defeats. Luton going down away at Preston, Borough losing at home to Birmingham. Now, Billy, you're going to be there for Football League World tonight. So what sort of a game are you expecting here?
I'm looking forward to it because both sides, I think, have something to prove after the weekend. Luton obviously lost 2-0 to Preston. Wasn't the best of displays. Performance that was perhaps coming, sort of leggy performance, I think you can call it. But Luton bounced back well in the past. Since they've become a Championship club, they don't seem to go on too many losing runs. They managed to pick out a good result from somewhere. So from sort of my personal viewpoint, I'm hoping that happens tonight. But it's also a big game for Middlesbrough as well. Also, like Luton, dropped out the playoff places because of the weekend's results, and because of how close it is at the moment, they can actually get back into the playoffs tonight. So that's the incentive there for both teams. And another incentive is that it's Neil Warnock's record-breaking game where he becomes the longest-serving manager. The most games from a manager in professional football, which is a fantastic achievement. And hopefully, for my club's sake, it's not too much of a good night for him. But yeah, I expect a good night of football. And Luton have been strong at home, so yeah, I think it has all the makings for a very good match tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And Ben, you were there at Preston on Saturday to see that defeat for Luton. What did you make of them there? And did you sort of see anything that sort of made you think they could bounce back quickly here?
I think it was a bit of an uncharacteristic performance from what I've heard. Normally a lot more solid than what they were, and they didn't look like to have much of a cutting edge up front. They had a few chances either side of half time, but Daniel Leaveson's only really tested once or twice. Obviously, they're missing Adebayor, who's a big miss, being one of their top scorers this season. If they can get him back fit, then he'll be a big addition to the team. But I'd certainly expect him to bounce back. I think we know what Borough will be like if I think Ikpeatsu's out, so they won't really be going direct like they do when he plays. So I think, the likes of Sonny Bradley, if he plays, I know he got brought off at half-time on Saturday. He's got a tough task ahead of him with Sporer, who's a very dangerous player. But I definitely think there could be a few goals in these two teams who conceded a few times on Saturday, and they've got strikers who know where the back of the net is. So I think Luton can bounce back, but I think Borough are dangerous coming off the back of a loss. They'll be wanting to prove something to Warnock on a big night for him.
Yeah, and of course, as we mentioned, there is a big night for Warnock and Borough almost as a whole. Just even beyond that game, it could be argued, because that defeat to Birmingham for Borough at the weekend ended a 3-game winning run. But if you look at sort of how things have been going for Borough before then, the pressure was starting to mount on Neil Warnock a bit. And I think when you look at the sides that they did beat in that winning run, Peterborough, Barnsley and Cardiff, none are in particularly great form. So, Chris, do you think that if it is another poor result for Borough tonight, then without wanting to put too much of a dampener on Warnock's big night, this could see a bit of pressure come back onto him if they don't get a win here?
Yeah, definitely could. I think after the whole game, there was a lot of anger from the Borough fans because that was there like last month, and they weren't. After a busy summer, they had a lot of, not investment, but they had a big overhaul in players for some eye-catching signings, and I think he was backed with a good enough squad to compete higher up. As you said, the results against the better sides in the league haven't been there. They've struggled for goals, for creativity in certain games, and they need to. Well, they're capable of more. So, yeah, I think he does need to get a result. He's not, obviously, we're not saying he's going to get sacked or anything if they don't win, but he needs to. He's got a squad that's capable of pushing for the playoffs, and whilst they're hovering in the pack outside, they should be doing more. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely going to be one worth watching, as is the next game we're going to look at now. And that next game we're going to turn our focus to comes from the City Ground, where Nottingham Forest host Sheffield United. Forest obviously on a bit of a high after that late winner at QPR on Friday night. Billy, I think you were there for that one, and sort of given the lift that will have given them in the sort of later setback, Sheffield United suffered at the weekend, losing at home to Blackpool. Do you think Forest might see this one as a bit of an opportunity?
Definitely, I think Cooper's had a massive impact, a very positive impact, and it's been instant, really. Sort of a 4-game winning run. I know defeat came in the form as a 4-0 loss against Fulham, but it was, I think that Fulham only had 3 shots on target, so it tells you sort of the difference I think Cooper's been making at the moment. I think looking purely at the QPR game, they were very impressive in terms of their pressing, in terms of their transitional play as well. I think Ryan Yates and Jack Colback have been revitalised as well. They bossed the midfield, really, and that's a pair that have been criticised for large amounts of this season. So I think having those 2 players back in really good form, having sort of the attacking talents that they do, and Cooper working his magic with the sort of the younger players in the squad, I think it's a time to be really excited for what Forest can do. And given sort of the close nature of the Championship at the moment, I think we could be looking at a Forest push for the playoff places. I think the same could be said for Sheffield United. Obviously, very inconsistent at the moment. Like some McGoldrick and Mousse back, which seemingly gave them a big boost. Mousse went on and scored a couple the other week against Barnsley, but then started and didn't have too much of an impact at the weekend. So I think consistency is the big factor here. Sheffield United are yet to find it, but I think they've got the tools to. Jukanovic is a very, very strong manager at this level, and I think we're just looking for them to hit form, and that's when we'll really see them sort of go towards the playoff positions. But if they leave it too late, they're at risk of not making that sort of pack.
Yeah, definitely. There does seem to be a bit of pressure almost mounting at Bramall Lane at the minute. I think there was a few dissenting voices perhaps from the crowd over the weekend. And with that in mind, Ben, do you think that perhaps Sheffield United and Jukanovic might actually benefit from being away from home tonight?
Could do, yeah. I mean, they'll be backed by a decent away following. You know, they travel very well, Sheffield United, and just the inconsistency they're showing at the minute. I think they've shown themselves to be clinical when they want to be. I think they had a spell against Barnsley in the second half where they scored around 3 in around 15 or 20 minutes. So, you know, they've always got a threat on the attack, but they have looked shaky a little bit in defence. You know, that goal for Blackpool on Saturday was just a ball over the top and the high line got caught out. Don't think they can afford to do that against Forest because the players they've got on the attack, you know, Brennan Johnson's got lightning pace and he'll exploit through this, try and play a high line like that again. So I think it might be a bit of a easier task going away from home rather than, you know, being at Bramall Lane, like you said, Toby, with the crowd almost kind of split with Slavisa in or Slavisa out. You know, he's got a tough job in his hands at the minute to try and balance that squad. He's probably hoping January comes soon so he can kind of freshen it up a little bit, but I think they'll need to get at least a point here tonight, or else I think the pressure will be even stronger on them if they lose. Yeah,
and of course, as we were sort of touching on there, the issue for Sheffield United, a bit of finding a goal scorer who can step up other than Billy Sharp perhaps this season. As we mentioned, sort of Mousse had an excellent game against Barnsley with the double a couple of weeks ago, then much quieter at the weekend against Blackpool, was actually forced off, but Jukanovic has confirmed that he's fit for tonight. So do you think we'll see him again, Chris, or could they go look at someone else to start?
Well, yeah, he's got plenty of options, hasn't he, up top? And you got McGoldrick, Sharp, McBurney, Brewster, and Moose. That's like it's probably giving him too many headaches, really, because it can be beneficial if you know what your best team is each week. Then it allows the players continuity. But yeah, I think so. I think he's going to have to make a decision on who his main man is, and Moose probably is worth persevering with because in terms of his quality, he's got pace. He can finish like as he showed at Barnsley. And he could be the clinical finisher. It's just Jokanovic has spoken about him in training. He's suggested he maybe needs to work harder and apply himself more. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Sharp start tonight because it is good to have the options. But at some point, I think he's going to have to settle on his best team to try and get results. And I'd say Moose would probably be in that 11. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So plenty of options there to consider for Slavisa Jokanovic. Elsewhere on Tuesday, Birmingham will be looking to make it third straight win when they host Bristol City back on the road after a long-awaited home win for them. Coventry will be looking to strengthen their playoff credentials against a Swansea side who's starting to click under Russell Martin. A bit of a mid-table battle between Millwall and Reading, two sides who probably need a win if they want to keep in touch with the top six. And Huddersfield, another looking to strengthen their top six position against a struggling Peterborough. But now we're going to turn our attention to some of tomorrow night's championship action. Yeah, and as ever, as I say, please do get your comments in and let us know your thoughts on any of these games that you might be heading to or watching at all over the next couple of days. Now, as I say, turning our attention to tomorrow's action, I'm going to start by looking at the championship leaders at the minute. That's, of course, Bournemouth. They're at home to Preston, picked up another win at the weekend, beating Reading 2-0. Still unbeaten in the championship. Chris, do you see any team that could really stop that run at the minute?
It's not looking likely, is it? There's a great balance to the team. I think the signing of Gary Cahill was a big one to shore them up at the back. They've got a good mix of experience and youth. They're not letting in goals and they've got a lot of good attacking players. So yeah, there's not much wrong with them at all. And obviously, I think they will get beat one day, but I can't really see it happening tomorrow. No.
No. Well, Ben, you were there at Preston, as we mentioned on Saturday. So on the back of that performance, really welcome win for North End. Do you see anything there that makes you think they could cause trouble for Bournemouth tomorrow night?
It was certainly a better performance, especially considering we got beat off Blackpool the week before and it was 10 times the performance. But I don't think it'd be enough to beat Bournemouth, especially with the run they're on. I know we went to Dean Court last season around this time of the season after 15, 16 games and actually picked up a win there. They'd only lost once all season, but it's a different manager, kind of a different team. We still got some of the same elements like Solanke, Lerman, Billing and players like that, but they look to be in some fine form under Scott Parker, the likes of Zamora and Anthony coming through from the under-23s into the first team, and they've not really missed a step. I think the best chance of PNE getting a result tomorrow, I think Frankie McAvoy said there's no point sitting back against a team like Bournemouth because they'll just put you under a lot of pressure. But I think the only way I can see it going is Bournemouth pressuring us a lot, and we'll end up just being pending defensively that way. I've done a few times this season. Probably the best hope of scoring is probably on the counter attack. Emil Reese has got a bit of pace about him. If he can get behind that defence, he can. Well, his one-on-one finishing's left a lot to be desired. When it's an instinctive finish, he seems to be scoring for fun. But yeah, I can't see us getting a win. I'd be very surprised if we did. It'd be a welcome surprise. But I'm hoping for a draw perhaps tomorrow for North End. But yeah, we played okay against Luton. It'd need a much better performance to at least get a point. Yeah,
definitely going to be a tough one for Preston. Big test for their defence. And, of course, as we mentioned there too, strikers sort of in form going head-to-head here with Dominic Solanke of Bournemouth and Emil Reese of Preston. Billy, could you argue that with the form they're in, that those two are perhaps going on under the radar a bit in terms of how much attention they perhaps ought to be getting?
Yeah, I think in terms of Solanke at Bournemouth, I think because they've had that sort of youthful talent come through. They've had Gary Cahill, who's also been a rock at the back. Midfield have been operating brilliantly as well, dominating the midfield battles. Yeah, I think Solanke has gone a little bit under the radar. Someone that he does take his chances, but he offers a lot more. It's a physical presence, but he's also got that turn of pace to get in behind and cause trouble there. And he's intelligent as well. He knows when to press and sort of the angle to press at. And yeah, I think he's got all the makings to return to the Premier League and become a top striker. I think maybe not world-class level, but I think he could operate in the Premier League for the next few years, and that could be with Bournemouth this year if everything keeps going the way it's going. I think with Emil Rees, well, he's a player a little bit like Gyökeres, who going under the radar at the start of the season, and hopefully that doesn't slow him down when people realise how good he actually is. As painful as it is for me as a Luton fan, his first goal was unbelievable. Just no other striker in their right mind would take that opportunity on. But no, he's a man in confidence. He's got the ability, and he found the top corner. Also, confidence from the penalty spot as well to double the lead at a crucial time for Preston as well. So, yeah, there's a lot to be desired about with both of them.
Definitely. And now from one game featuring a couple of strikers who have perhaps been going under the radar a bit this season to a match featuring two attackers who have very much been in the headlines recently. And that game, of course, comes at Ewood Park, where Fulham are the visitors to Blackburn Rovers, again on Wednesday night. Now, speaking after Blackburn's last home game, a 2-0 win against Reading, Tony Mowbray sort of said he felt his side can be a challenge for any team on their own turf this season. But Billy, when you sort of look at what Fulham did to West Brom, who were the only team to beat Rovers in the league at home this season, do you get the feeling they might just have a bit too much for them tomorrow night?
I think I would have tried to make a case for Blackburn to challenge anyone, but after watching Fulham on Saturday, they were a different class above West Brom, let alone sort of another team in this division. I think they've got everything. We know what Mitrovic is all about. Give him an opportunity and he'll score, as we've seen a lot already this season. 18 goals now, which is just incredible at this stage of the season. But I think it's the supply as well that he's getting. Bobby Reed, Cabano, I think Carvalho came on as well. Kearney came on. Harry Wilson. It's just an endless list of creative talents that are providing Mitrovic with chances game after game. And I think that perhaps Mitrovic's start to the season has been, masked. Sort of the attacking talents that they've got has been masked by Mitrovic's start. But yeah, I think they've got everything going forward. Potentially the only way I could see Blackburn getting joy is the fact that Tosin got that red card, rash tackle late in play against West Brom, and it allows a chance for Hector or Alfie Mawson to get into the side, and they haven't played too much Championship football this season. So yeah, I think that's the way Rovers get into this game. But I've been really impressed with Blackburn as well this season, but I think it's just the pedigree of Fulham and how devastating they've been on the attack and how strong they've been in defence, particularly at this moment in time. I just can't really see anything than a Fulham win.
Yeah, and as we say, we've spoken a lot about Alexander Mitrovic there. It's now 18 for the season already after that hat-trick against West Brom at the weekend. And when you look at sort of the problems Rovers have in defence coming into this one, Ayala, Pickering both look to be out, Nyambe's out. Do you think Mitrovic, Ben, will be looking at this game and thinking I could get to 20 quite quickly here?
Probably, yeah. I mean, to be fair, Blackburn has still got some decent defenders. You know, Lenihan's a solid option. I've not seen too much of Van Heck, but I've got a few friends who support Blackburn who say he's pretty good. But Mitrovic is more than a match for any top defender in this division. You know, he came up against the likes of Bartley and Jay on Saturday and got the better of them very easily. Got a hat-trick, and you know, he's, I think, on the current form and his current ratio, he's on for about 50 odd this season. Maybe he might end up getting injured, you never know, or he could go through a bit of a barren run, but it doesn't look like he's going to miss when he gets the ball at the minute. obviously he's the penalty taker as well. So if you keep getting a few penalties, even if they are fortuitous like the ones on Saturday, he's just getting more chances, and I think he will fancy himself away from home, no less, to crack the 20 figure on Wednesday night.
Yeah, definitely. And as we say, though, there is two attackers who've sort of been in the limelight a bit this season who look set to be on the pitch tomorrow night. The other one, of course, being Blackburn's Ben Diaz, he's second top scorer behind Mitrovic this season. Do you think he and sort of the likes of Tyree Stolen, even without Sam Gallagher, who looks set to miss out through injury, could hurt Fulham, Chris?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think Billy touched on as well. The suspension for Tosin is a big one because I think he's Fulham's best defender. He's got the recovery pace and he's a tall, powerful defender. So he will be missed. And as you touched on, Brereton Diaz and Blackburn at home, I think they've averaged over 2 goals a game from the 7 so far. So they obviously respect Fulham and they obviously know they're going to have a really tough game. But yeah, I think they've got enough quality to make a game of it. And yeah, I'd expect an entertaining clash at Ewood, even if I would think Fulham will win in the end.
Yeah, it should be a good watch between two teams. They do score a lot, obviously. I think there will be a bit of disappointment among Blackburn fans that Adarabioyo isn't going to feature tomorrow night. Obviously, he was such a popular figure during his loan there a couple of years ago, but didn't really get the farewell because that season ended behind closed doors. Though, of course, Harrison and Reid and Tom Kearney will still provide a bit of a Rovers connection for the visitors. Now, we've spoken about first, we've spoken about second in the Championship, so let's now turn our attention to third. And that, of course, takes us to West Brom, who, as we were saying, they will be looking to bounce back after such a disappointing defeat at Craven Cottage to Fulham at the weekend, and they'll be attempting to do that at home to Hull City. Chris, when you sort of look at the form Hull are in at the minute, is this about as good a game as West Brom could have asked for to try and respond?
Oh yeah, without doubt. I think the manner of the defeat at Fulham annoyed the fans. I think they felt a few key decisions went against them, and there was obviously the Snodgrass's mistake for the second goal. I think it was just summed up what was a really bad day for West Brom. So I think the beauty of the Championship is the games come thick and fast, and yeah, you can't really ask for a better one. I think the gulf between the top and the bottom of the league is getting bigger quite every season, really. And West Brom I think they have too much quality for Hull, and I'd expect a pretty comfortable home win. Yeah.
That being said, Ben, obviously West Brom are going to be out without a couple of players again tomorrow night. Darnell Furlong obviously suspended after his red card at the weekend, and Ismail has confirmed that Alex Mowatt will still be unavailable for this one through injury. Do you think there'll be a big miss here?
I think there will be a big miss, but if you're playing any other team, I think it might be a bit of an issue. But the way Hull have been playing recently, I can't see it being too much of a problem. I think they put away Bristol City the other week 3-0, and they're a bit better than Hull. I think they were without Mowatt that day as well, so I think they lack a little bit of creativity without Mowatt in that middle of the park. Snodgrass has been playing well the last few games, and obviously coming up against a former club, if he does play, he should have the beating of that midfield. I'm not sure who'll play it at right wing back, but I just think that the quality West Brom do have and will have on the pitch, it should be probably a bit too good for Hull, regardless of who plays. He could make a few changes after, it could give him a kick up the backside if he does drop a few players, Ismail. But I think, yeah, like Chris said, I think they should just be too good for Hull, regardless of who comes in for Furlong and who plays instead of Mowatt.
Yeah, and of course, as we're saying there, this is going to be a huge challenge for Hull tomorrow night. But we did have, obviously, the update on the takeover of Hull that came out on Sunday, sort of confirmation that we're moving towards almost a due diligence phase there. So, Billy, do you think, even if it perhaps isn't enough to push them over the line in terms of the 3 points, do you think we could see a bit more of a response from Hull after that news?
Yeah, certainly. I think with Hull as well, it's sort of recent weeks, their performances haven't been too bad in terms of defensively. They're quite solid. I think all season they've only conceded 3 goals twice. So defensively speaking, I don't think it's the issue. And I think it's the fact of creating chances and having a player that's going to finish them. I don't know about McGuinness. I don't know if he has the credentials to score enough goals to keep Hull in the division this year. It might be something they look to address in January. But you think the likes of Moncur, you've got Honeyman as well, Malik Wilkes and Keane Lewis-Potter in behind them, all really, really good championship options in my opinion. And the fact that they're not creating enough chances to win games is something that I can't quite put my finger on. Maybe this takeover news might be the sort of spark they need for their season to come alive. Grant McCann hasn't enjoyed his sort of time as the championship manager of Hull. Obviously done brilliantly last year, but yeah, this could be the spark that they need. A very difficult test, but I think that it's a good time to play West Brom as well after a 3-0 defeat. I know it was against Fulham, who are arguably the best team in this division and sort of a class above the majority of teams in this league. But I think that Hull do possess the potential to go on and sort of turn this rot into a survival season. I don't think it will get much better than that. But yeah, we see a season where they can actually get out of the rot and go on to decent enough things.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see what sort of response that does spark from Hull on the pitch tomorrow night and beyond. Now, speaking of that battle for survival, we're going to turn our attention to something of a relegation 6-pointer in the Championship. And that does come at Oakwell, where Barnsley begin life without Marcus Schopp when they host Derby. Now, on that decision, Ben, to sack Schopp, is that the right one? And do you think we could now see a response from Barnsley tomorrow night?
I think it was the right one, yeah. I mean, it was only 15 games he managed in the Championship, but the performances weren't there. The results obviously weren't there. He'd lost 7 in a row. I actually watched the Sheffield United Barnsley match on Sky a few weeks back, and to be fair, he showed signs of life in the last 15 or so minutes, but obviously it was a bit too late by then. I think Sheffield United had got away with it. But yeah, Barnsley fans are unanimously happy that he's gone. It's never nice to see someone, lose a job, but when you've lost that many games in a row, we've seen with Mick McCarthy as well, it just has to happen. And I don't know where they go from here, what kind of route they're going to go down. We've seen a few names linked already, but tomorrow night they've got Ismail's old assistant in Joseph Larman taking charge. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get the spark that Ismail gave them last season. It's a pretty similar squad to what they had. The likes of Mowat and Dyke are obviously not there, but if Larman can try and get them motivated like Ismail did, then I think they might have a chance of having that new caretaker manager bounce and getting a win here.
Yeah, definitely. But on the flip side to that, Derby, of course, battling for points. They've got to after that 12-point deduction for going into administration, and they perhaps, in all fairness, should have had one on Saturday, losing 2-1 at Blackburn, but hitting the post in extra time. So do you think, Chris, with the way Barnsley have been going at the minute, Derby have to view this as a game they'll target for 3 points?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we'll agree. We'll probably agree. Rooney's done a great job in the circumstances. They're just not winning enough games. As you say, they're competitive. They're hard to score against, and they just lack that little bit of quality. But yeah, this is a massive game for both clubs, and it's just all about the result tomorrow. It doesn't really matter. You won't care how they play, but this is to get back winning ways. This is the ideal game, and it would give them a real boost, like confidence boost ahead of the next few months as well, because it would close the gap and it would put even more pressure on Barnsley as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one that's going to have all sorts of little subplots to keep an eye on tomorrow night. Other games happening tomorrow night. Blackpool are absolutely flying, looking to build on that win against Sheffield United. Again, are hosting Stoke, who are still faltering after throwing away that 3-0 lead to draw with Cardiff. Cardiff, for their part, obviously going to be on a bit of a high after that, and they host QPR, who themselves stood by that Lake Forest equaliser on Friday night. And now we're going to turn our attention to some of tonight's League One action. The first game we're going to look at in League One comes at Hillsborough. Two of the big names in this division going head-to-head, Sheffield Wednesday and Sunderland. Sheffield Wednesday, it's 4 draws in a row now, Billy. How important is it for them to turn those draws into wins quickly, both for their hopes of promotion and, you think, Darren Moore's position at the club?
Yeah, well, it's a massive game in terms of turning these draws into wins. I think it's 6 points in the last 4 games that they've dropped through goals in the last 10 minutes, which denies them a spot in the playoffs. So in that respect, definitely it's a massive, massive opportunity for Sheffield Wednesday, probably playing Sunderland at the right time as well. Sunderland haven't been as good at away from home, this season. So yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity for Sheffield Wednesday to cut the gap from the playoff positions. I think with Sheffield Wednesday as well, they've been defensively strong, and I expect that to continue against Sunderland, just even when thinking about the firepower that Sunderland do have. But for Wednesday, it's about scoring goals, creating the chances to score goals, which is something I didn't think they'd struggle with this season. But only Burton in the top 17 have scored fewer goals. So I think that's a big problem for Wednesday at the moment. Is it something they address in the January window? Is it something that can sort of spark back to life once Windus is back? That sort of remains to be seen. But yeah, it's certainly a good game, good time, for Sheffield Wednesday to play Sunderland. And sort of on that note, I'm having to get myself rushed to Kenilworth Road this evening, so I'm gonna have to drop out now, and see you all soon.
Yeah, our thanks to Billy. We don't want him to be missing that game. If you do want to follow Billy's updates from Kenilworth Road tonight, you can find him on Twitter at BillyMulley11. Billy, thanks for your time this afternoon. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Now, just sticking with that Sunderland-Sheffield Wednesday game for now. Obviously, Sunderland coming into this on the back of consecutive defeats. Obviously, an absolute thrashing they took at Rotherham on Saturday. And one other subplot from that game was obviously the sending off of Aidan McGeady, so he won't be featuring tonight. But Ben, given his sort of recent form, do you think that could perhaps almost be a blessing in disguise for Sunderland?
Could be, yeah. He's definitely not at the impact that you'd expect him to have. I know he's in his mid-30s now, but he came in when Lee Johnson arrived last season. He was being exiled by Phil Parkinson, and it was like a completely new player. That kind of absence had kind of refreshed him. He was a creative threat every game. This season, it's just not really happened for him. Even though he'd been up at the top of the table, he's not really made an impact. It's been coming from other areas. The suspension gives other players a chance. Lyndon Gooch or Aidan O'Brien could come in, and if one of them does perform well tonight, it begs the question: does McGeady, stay on the bench for a little bit when he's back at the weekend? He's getting on. It's hard to say. He's getting on a little bit now. He's not really got the pace he used to have when he was younger, but he's still a very tricky player. And maybe coming off the bench for a few games and trying to impact the game in that way will do him well when he's back.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on there, and a really huge match for those two sides in terms of their hopes for promotion. As I say, if you do want to get your thoughts in on anything that we're discussing here, please do in the comments section. And now we're going to turn our attention to a game that has big implications at the minute at both ends of the League One table. And that comes at the Valley tonight, where Charlton host Rotherham. As we say, Rotherham off a big high with that thrashing of Sunderland at the weekend. But Chris, given the way that Charlton have started to go under Johnny Jackson and Jason Ewell caretaker charge now, could this be a trickier fixture for the Millers than the table perhaps suggests?
Oh yeah, without doubt. I think it's a really tough game for Rotherham. After the summer window Charlton had, I think many were expecting them to be in the mix for promotions. That tells you the view on the sort of quality that they brought in. And obviously it didn't go to plan at all with Nigel Adkins, but that doesn't mean the players are bad, and they've got a lot of depth as well to the squad. So yeah, I think it will be a tricky game. I think under Jackson, the one at Sunderland in a way where they were conceded possession and they were resolute and they got a 1-0. And then they played Doncaster and outplayed them and hammered them 4-0. So that showed good signs there that they can mix it up a bit against the opposition, and they'll know it's a tough game themselves against Rotherham. But yeah, I think Paul Warne will know that this is going to be a very tough game.
Yeah, and Ben, if Charlton are able to make this hard for Rotherham and potentially get something from it, that's got to be another feather in the cap for Jackson in terms of any possible push he might want to get this job full time, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's obviously 2 wins on the bounce against, Sunderland, who's a difficult place to go at the best of times, and he ground out a win there. And I think he got a bit of a free pass against Doncaster. They've been playing pretty poorly at the minute, and he put out an attacking lineup, and it's probably something that Charlton fans wanted to see all season. Just going all out for it, and they ended up scoring 4 goals. And I think this is going to be a bit more of a tougher game. Obviously, Rotherham are in good form. They're scoring fun as well, but they've also got a solid back line, so it'll be a little bit tougher tonight for Charlton. Obviously, Stockley against there. Rotherham's big back line will be something, to watch. There'll be a lot of elbows probably being thrown about and lots of aerial battles. But if they do win tonight, it'll be not only probably, it won't even be a surprise because of what they did against Sunderland. And if they do win, it definitely gives Jackson, a better chance of securing that role on a permanent basis. I think Sandgaard's already said that they're going to take the time when making a decision. And there's been less names linked to the Charlton job than, some of the other vacancies in the EFL. So perhaps that does mean Jackson's got a good chance of getting it already, and a win tonight would probably almost certainly put him at the top of the list.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems that might be a bit of a sentiment among Rotherham fans here. ADRAC just sort of saying it will that a draw might not be a bad result for Rotherham. So be interesting to see how that one plays out. But for all that about how well Charlton have been doing, we do have to mention how good Rotherham have been. Obviously, Michael Smith has been pretty much excellent all season for the Millers, and Freddie Ladapo had perhaps his best game by all accounts for Rotherham in that win over Sunderland on Saturday. So, Chris, if them two can really maintain that form all season, that's going to be a big worry for the League One sides, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah, definitely. I think the setup, the balance of the team at Rotherham is very good, and as you've just mentioned, the front two are very dangerous. They work well together, and I think sometimes they can go under the radar because there's a lot of very big sides in League One, so you maybe look out for them. But when you see them beat Sunderland as they did, it was another proof, as if it was needed, that they are serious contenders this year. And I think they'll go very close for a top 2 finish.
Yeah, definitely. Elsewhere in League One tonight, Ipswich going to get another chance to show their credentials against the promotion challenges in this division after their defeat at Plymouth at the weekend. They go to Adams Park to face Wickham. There's a Northwest derby with it that can impact both ends of the table as promotion chasing Wigan go to relegation battle as Fleetwood. Portsmouth will be looking to build on that long-awaited win over Bolton when they host a Cheltenham side. We're going to be buoyed by their late equaliser at the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday. There's a battle of 2 of last season's League 2 promoted sides as Morecambe host Cambridge, and the bottom 2 in League 1 go head-to-head as Crewe meet Doncaster. Now that's all we've got time for this afternoon. My thanks to Ben, Chris and Billy for joining me and giving their thoughts here today. Thank you also to you at home for tuning in. If you have missed any of this, please do get on the YouTube channel and you can catch all of it. And of course, do subscribe while you're there if you can. Coming up tomorrow, we've got an Ipswich Town fan takeover show, so that'll definitely be worth watching for Tractor Boys fans. Plenty of interesting discussion on your club there. And I'll be joining Ned Holmes to run through the League 2 Fan Award nominations for the month of October. As I say, though, for now, enjoy whatever game it is you're watching this evening, and we'll see you again very soon.